Dream catching. The big friendly giant put the suitcase on the ground. He bent low so that his enormous face was close to Sophia's. From now on, we is keepin' as still as winky little miceies, he whispered. Sophia nodded. The misty vapor swirled around her. It made her cheeks damp and left dewdrops in her hair. The BFG opened the suitcase and took out several empty glass jars. He set them ready on the ground with his screw tops removed. Then he stood up very straight. His head was now high up in the swirling mist, and it kept disappearing, then appearing again. He was holding the long net in his right hand. Sophie, staring upwards, saw through the mist that his colossal ears were beginning to swivel out from his head. They began waving gently to and fro. Suddenly, the BFG pounced. He leaped high in the air and swung the net through the mist with a great swishing sweep of his arm. "Got him," he cried. A jar, quick, quick." Sophie picked up a jar and held it up to him. He grabbed hold of it. He lowered the net very carefully. He tipped something absolutely invisible from the net into the jar. He dropped the net and swiftly clapped one hand over the jar. "The top," he whispered. "The jar top, quick." Sophia picked up the screw top and handed it to him. He screwed it on tight and the jar was closed.
The BFG was very excited. He held the jar close to one ear and listened instantly. It was a wing woofer. He whispered in the thrill in his voice. It's even better. It's a fizzle wizard. It is golden fizzle. It is a golden fizzle wizard. Sophia stared at him. Oh my, he said, holding the jar in front of him. This will be given in a little brother very happy night. When I was blowing in it, it was really a good one, Sophia asked. A good one, he cried. It was a golden fizzle wizard. It is not often I is getting one of these. He handed the jar to Sophia and said, "Please be still as a starfish now. I is thinking there may be a whole swarm of fizz wizards up here today, and do kindly stop breathing. You is terrible noisy down here. It haven't moved a muscle," Sophia said. "Then don't," the BFG answered sharply. Once again, he stood up a tall, just holding his net at the ready. Then came the long silence, the waiting of listening, and at last the surprising startledness came to leap and the swish of a net. "Another jar," he cried. Quick, 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 quick." When the second dream was safely in the jar and the top was screwed down, the BFG held the jar to his ear. "Oh no," he cried. Oh, mince my maggots on swipe my swoggles." What's the matter?" Sophia asked. It's a trouble humper," he shouted in the voice of a filled with fury and aghast anguish. "Oh, saved our slosh," he cried. "Deliver us from weasels. The devil is dancing on my dibber."
What are you talking about? Sophie said. The BFG was getting more distressed every moment. Oh, bash my eye bones, he called, waving the jar in the air. I come all this way to get lovely golden dreams. And what is I catching? What are you catching? Sophia said. I is catching a fright storm triggerhumper, he said. This is a bad, bad dream. It is worse than a bad dream. It is a nightmare. Oh, dear, Sophia said. What will you do with that? I is never letting it go, the BFG cried. If I do, then some poor little toddler will be having the worst curdle-bluttering time. This one is a real kicksy boggle thumper. I exploding it as soon as I get home. Nightmares are horrible, Sophia said. I had one once, and I woke up sweating all over. With this one, you would be waking up screaming all over. The BFG said, this one would make your teeth stand on end. If this one got into you, your blood would be freezing to icicles and your skin would be creeping across the floor. Is it as bad as that? It's worse, cried the BFG. This is a really wopsy gobblewitcher. You said it was a troggle humper, Sophia said. It is a troggle humper, he cried, exasperated BFG. What it also a both thumper and a grob wish switcher. It's all three riddled into one. Oh, I is so glad I clutching it tight. Ah, you wicked beastie, you, he cried, holding up the jar and staring into it. Never more is you going to be bunk-doodling the poor little human beanie toddlers.
Sophia, who was also staring into the glass jar, cried out, I can see it. There's something in there. Of course there is something in there, the BFG said. You look like a frightsome troggle humper. You told me dreams were invisible. They is always invisible until they is captured, the BFG told her. After that, they is losing a little of their invisibility. We is seeing this one very clearly inside the jar. Sophia could see the faint scarlet outline of something that looked like a mixture between a blob of gas and a bubble of jelly. It was moving violently, thrashing against the sides of the jar, forever changing shape. It's wiggling all over the place, Sophia cried. It's fighting to get out. It'll bash itself into bits. The nastier the dream, the angrier it is getting when it is in prison, the BFG said. It is the same as with wild animals. If an animal is very fierce and you is putting it in a cage, it will make a tremendous
Rumble dumps.
I don't even know.
If.
It is a nice animal like a cockatoodle or a foggle frump. It will sit quietly. Dreams is exactly the same. This one is.
This one is.
This one is a nasty, fierce, bog-rotting nightmare.
Just look at him splashed himself against the glass. It's quite frightening, Sophia cried. I would be hating to get this one instead, me on a dark stone night, the BFG said. So Sophia said. The BFG started putting the bottles back into the suitcase. Is that all? Sophia asked. We are going.
I is so upset by this struggle humping, bog thumping, grab switcher. The BFG said that I is not wishing to go on Dreamcatcher. It's finished for today.
Good. Soon, Sophia was back in the waistcoat pocket, and the BFG was racing home as fast as he could go. When at last they emerged out of the mist and came again onto the hot yellow wasteland, all the other giants were sprawled out on the ground, fast asleep.